This is Audiobook Caboodle YouTube channel. Click on the subscribe button and listen unlimited audiobooks anytime, anywhere.
Part 2. The Quest. There looks a lonely column o'er the sea, close to the cliff edge, where the Ionian land leans westward. Far below, the hungry sea sucks ever at the cliff foot, and the temple, pillar and pediment and roof, is fallen, this lonely column left. A wilding vine clasps it and clings, like woman's faithful love, round the forsaken. At the pillar's foot Leander lies, and watches wistfully each white wing that flies westward, each white sail that dwindles to the distant verge, and dips below the sea line, homeward bound for Greece. 2 years he has wandered, for at first the heat of young enthusiasm had carried him heedless upon his visionary quest, counting not distance, hither-thither led by shifting rumour like a thistle-seed, blown by each crossing current down a glade. From hill to hill, from shore to shore he went, from island unto island, till at last, far off, mid alien men, despondency and doubt, long kept at bay, even as a foe that hangs on some impetuous conqueror, sullen, inexorable, fell on him, and all his fire and all his faith was lost. And as a climber, who in heedless haste has clambered halfway up a precipice, turning at last perceives the giddy gulf, his head swims, and his heart within him fails, so far away lies safety. Even so, Leander, turning, knew the unmeasured leagues that lay between his longing eyes and home. Aye, many were the perils. Land and sea alike were hostile to the wayfarer in those wild days. Hungry and hard-bested, he reached at last the sea, and there a crew of pirates seized him, purposing to sell his delicate limbs to slavery. But a storm and shipwreck rescued him, and he was cast, friendless but free, upon the Ionian shore. Was ever a Ulysses in sore straits that found not a Calypso? Gentle hands succoured and saved him, and a gentle heart from pitying fell to loving, and from love to jealousy, finding his heart was fixed too firm on Helen to be wooed astray. Alas, alas, Calypso! Can a heart so gentle harbour such ungentle thoughts, and kindness turn to torturing cruelty? For when, for all her wooing, she perceived no step advanced, but that he ever chose, rather than be with her, to sit alone by that lone pillar, watching the wide sea and weeping, then with love and jealousy tormented, she contrived a dire extreme. For feigning she had planned a glad surprise to please him, and a secret message sent to know how Helen fared, she brought him news, with pitying sighs and tears and woeful words, that Helen had been wedded and was dead, and to confirm it showed him letters. Then so like to madness was his agony, that she his torturer wept most tender tears, and had almost confessed the baseless lie. Shame held her, till occasion oft let slip seemed lost forever. Calmer too he grew, as sorrow like a petrifying surge sank drop by drop through all the pores of being. And all the day, yea, often all the night, he kept his lonely station on the cliff, soothed haply by the sea wind, or the low, long murmur of the waves upon the beach. Till once as he sat solitary there, some breath of spring, some scent of flower, or song of far-off wood-bird, smote him like a lash to scathing recollection. All his life rose up before his eyes, his boyhood's dreams, his purpose to be poet, and the love, so lightly left, so sweet, so wonderful, worthy to toss aside all purposes to win it truly.
"O fool that left it won!"
Passionately he cried the words aloud.
"O fool!"
When as an echo close at hand his word came back to him.
"Fool, wherefore, fool?"
Starting he turned, and half the pillar's length behind him saw an unknown wayfarer, whose reverend aspect showed him sage or seer, crowned with the glory of a temperate life, white hair, and long white beard upon his breast. Again he spoke.
"Why, fool!"
And in his eyes shone kindly light, as shine the fair twin stars in storm to sailors. Rose Leander up, crying,
O sir, if, as I deem, you are seer or philosopher, or prophet sage, help me, for I lie helpless, hedged within the ruins of a life planned loftily, and scarce can breathe, or free my hands to feel, if base beneath the ruins yet be left enough to build on. Help me.
How to help, not knowing yet your nature or your need? Nay, but I half divine it. You are one sighing for truth, as all are sighing now, who drown not reason in the sloughs of lust, nor poison her sweet nature with the taint of cynic unbelief.
Truth! What is truth? Will some god tell us? Nay, the gods themselves are liars, since they send us lying dreams, and give not what they promise to our prayers.
Hush! The gods hear. And did the gods not hear, the sin would be greater, lacking even the specious show of courage, while each coward, seeing thy sin unpunished, should take heart to sin more boldly. Sow not unbelief. Doubt in thyself, if vexed by such sore plague, but leave their faith to those who can believe, for all pure faith is nearer truth than doubt.
Yet purest faith may be the most deceived.
Say where your faith was fixed, wherein deceived.
In God my faith was, and by God deceived.
Let not the poison flower of blasphemy blossom upon your lips. Rather lay bare its roots to me, if haply I have skill to purge the noxious nature. For indeed often are grafted on the self-same stem the poisonous and the wholesome, being kin as bitter and sweet apple. Tell me all your life, its bright hopes and its broken faiths, as 'twere another's.
I will tell thee all. Mine was that happy boyhood which in fields and woodlands knows each nesting place of birds, each nook of earliest flowers. My mother seemed herself a very nymph of Maia's train, more careful of the moss-built linnet's nest than of majestic temples, loving more the breath of morn or meadows after rain than Syrian perfumes, and the myriad eyes of the lawn daisies than the looks of men. Nature was round me, as the river's breast to little water nestlings, and I drank, played, lived in her in ever-growing trust. Ever my mother taught me to adore gods in the woodland, in the mountain gods, who made and kept the world in loveliness. Childlike, in wonder more than awe, I asked if I might see them, and she smiled and said, Some say that they have seen them, and even now, unless our legends be but lovely lies, there is one lesser deity who clings to his old haunts in Hellas, even Pan, the goat-foot god whom shepherd poets see. Then eager flowed my childish questionings, and much she told me, winnowing fair tales, which may be truth from foul, which must be lies, and ever afterwards I dreamt of Pan, and thought to be a poet. Thus the years passed in perpetual springtime, till one year came too most dreadful, but undreamed of yet. In all my dreams of God came death and love. Death came and smote that life so knit with mine, as birth had only severed child and mother, body from body, but not soul from soul. And in my anguish seemed me that a soul so wounded must full surely bleed to death. And day by day, and night by night, I lay, waiting for death to fetch me, as a thing forgotten and returned for. Reason shook upon her throne, until a comforter came, not the death that I desired, but love, a kinder death. And at love's dawn my life, as earth at morning, put away its pall, and took for robe the rainbow. Hopes and dreams clothed as of old my soul, and hopes and dreams still to one good looked only, to see God. Then learnt I first how life's great visitings, prayers' answer, hope's fulfilment, came to us, at whiles we least expect them, and in ways which least we look for. In a dreadful dream, the revelation came for which I prayed.
He told his vision of the death of Pan, fainter for 2 years' faded memory, yet still so clear it brought the ruddy blood to his pale forehead, and a quicker pulse into his languid veins. The sun was sunk, and heaven's wide arch was studded o'er with stars, or ere he ended. Silent lay the sage, smitten with his fervour, doubting not the dream, yet doubting of its import, loath to throw one chilling breath of doubt on the warm heart that glowed anew with half-forgotten fires. At last he spoke.
Yet was not love still left? What of your love?
Ah, therefore cried I, fool, fool on myself, nay, madman, for I left my love, my anchor of calm reason, dreamed that airborne pageant was a thing my feet could follow, and by land and sea pursued, as children follow rainbows. Love is lost, and hope, faith only after long eclipse, gleams cloudily since you have spoke with me. Are there no gods, no goal of life, no world, wherein our groping instincts shall find light? Help me, if you can help. Teach me, if aught you know, for my old teachers fail me now.
He ended earnestly, as a lost child who asks the way of any wayfarer. Awhile in silence his companions sat, fixing a far-off gaze on one lone star, a little lamp amid large space of night. Then suddenly,
Your teachers fail you now? Mine too, who long had taught me, failed me once. I too was like a vessel that long rode safely at anchor, till by sudden storm tossed from known harbour and safe anchorage. I too had such an anchor of the soul as your child faith in nature. Nor my faith proved firmer fixed, though in a deeper sea. For I am an Athenian. I was born where Socrates was slain, where Plato taught, and I have trod the groves of Academe, and I have worn the steps of Poesile from my first years. From my first years I loved these teachers, partly that I half believed their spirits haunted yet their ancient homes, and made that sweet mysterious charm I loved in street and temple. I too worshipped God, but not the gods, a little lower than man, whom men have made mere images to each, ideal of his own yearnings, good or bad, but the divinity that underlies all thought, speech, action in the world, in whom we live and move and have our being, of whom men speak, saying, if God will, or God ordains, or in their prayers for friends, our highest prayers being unselfish, as God go with you, God bless you. By no name I worshipped him, for who can know his nature or his name, or anything save this, that he is good, since he has made the sunshine and the flowers. Nor in much knowledge, as my reason grew, I sought to find him. Man's creator must transcend his creatures, even as man transcends the mechanism he makes. The counterpart in God of human reason must be past the power of human thought to reason of. So mid the olives and the marbles went my life, and still I drank new knowledge in of natural things and high philosophy. Cold do you deem my life beside the fires you told me with such a fervour of your youth. Hard do you deem my life? Nay, listen still. It had its core of tenderness, its days of music. Have you found at times a flint, cold, hard, immalleable, yet perchance broken across, and where you thought to see the heart dull as the rest, bright crystals gleamed with rainbow hues, the work of fires long dead? My life hides such a centre. Would you hear? There fell a day of spring when, weary grown of a long winter's poring over books, and feeling as the caged lark feels the spring calling to freedom, forth I went and took the road to seaward. When I reached the shore, fresh blew the breeze, and crisping breakers curled into the bay. My mood was idle, dreams were in my head, and reason half asleep. So, finding a lone boat upon the beach, in idleness not asking leave, alone I launched it, stepped therein, and hoised the sail. The credulous thereafter said some god sailed with me, held the tiller, called the wind, that blew me softly, swiftly, till the land grew but a dim, grey outline, I know not. But on a sudden, gazing witlessly in reverie on the waters, I beheld some floating wreck, a broken mast, with ropes trailing like sea snakes fastening on its life. And as I looked, low wound amid the ropes, lapped gently by the water, yet half dry, an infant slept. O wonder! Quick I seized an oar and drew me to the spot. In haste unbound the knotted ropes, and tenderly lifted the child. Oh, was it living or dead? Could it be living, sleeping gently so amid such gaping mouths of hungry death? Yes, it was living. At my unused touch tender, but even a tender hand unused is rough. It woke and looked with large dark eyes up in my face, and laughed. Oh, happy laugh! That sweet laugh hailed me father, gave me heart kind as a father's, and a purpose fixed, henceforth to be in its lost father's place. Homeward, scarce knowing how, I sailed and reached the shore, then landed, heard the news of wreck, a rich Venetian merchantman, all hands save one who brought the tidings lost. My heart leapt as I thought, then none can claim the babe. 'Twere wearisome to tell how day by day life fared, though each day in my memory is clear as each year's ring in trunks of pine. But all my life was changed. Rich sunlight poured where had been moonlight. Nobler were the heights and less obscure the hollows. Strange it is, this love that binds us to another life, so little like our own. But such strong love, first for the helpless thing that smiled on me, then for child lips that lisped me father, last for a fair maiden, slim and delicate, with wistful eyes that ever seemed aware of things we see not. Such life-quickening love bound me to her, more dear than life itself. She seemed the unknown hope of my young dreams, the pure ideal of my philosophy, the answer of full blessing to my prayers. Must I then tell the end? Not all the years, not all the dreadful years have eaten yet into my soul so deeply as to loose the barbed grief that lodged there on the day when Nerea died. The gods had need of her, she murmured with a smile, and passed. O God, couldst thou have need of her as I had need? My white-winged Psyche, leading me through life along the paths of flowers. Can you not guess what shipwreck those fair vessels, hope and joy, and reverence of God and faith in man, now suffered when the convoy love was lost? What goal, what guide, what comfort, what desire in all the desert seas of life? The lapse of measured days restored an even pulse to fevered reason. The old habits came to their old place. Philosophy was left cold, clear, untroubled. Bitterly I said, as a star above the storm that founders us, I would be cold, untroubled, leaving dreams of God and goodness, love and loveliness. So locking all fair chambers I had loved, I sought my lodging in the four bare walls of stoicism, hardening all my heart against soft influences, the winds of spring, the sight of waters, the sweet voice of girls.
Master, what gracious influence melted you from that hard mood to what I find you now? Patient and gentle ear to murmurings, compassionate and kindly heart to grief, soft voice to love, fearless rebuke of wrong.
I scarce can tell you. Drops so numerous of blessing, unperceived as dew, came down to soften day by day my arid will. For first a lame child fallen in the street, her dark eyes were like Nerea's, strangely stirred my stoic humor, and her voice, in thanks for being so moved I helped her to her home, sounded as sweet as falling waters, heard of desert wanderers o'er the darkening sands. And once, late passing by a lonely shrine, I heard a mother praying for her son, her only son, far off, forgetful of her. I thought I had forgotten how to weep till then. Ah, once the frozen river stirs, the break comes quickly. Most of all I found new founts of pity in unmurmuring pain, passing the deeds of heroes. Day by day my heart changed in me, and with opened eyes seeing that death and grief were to the world the law, my grief not law's unwonted breach, I said, if man by imitating God can carve fair statues and ordain just laws, shall not God's laws exceed our righteousness, even as his works our art, and night as light, sadness as gladness, death as life, be good? So said I, and so taught that God is good. All evil that we see is in our seeing, even as the spots that dance before our eyes in the full sunlight. At such simple lore the listeners stared, then laughed. A Socrates! Athenians, hear the new philosophy. But always, when I heard some blatant voice preaching philosophies of life, I thought, who life expounds and yet explains not death, he maps an island and omits the sea. Thus the sweet violet faith grew from the grave of joy, nor more I thought to understand, but just to take all blessing and all grief blindly as good, and grope to ends unseen, and haply, for who knows, to find at last some clearer region at the back of death. The years went over, gently lapsed my life, as meadow streams that once were waterfalls, with naught to mark my days save whitening locks, till as a trumpet blown at dead of night tidings came to me, for whose sake I now am wearying my old limbs with journey long, sped onward by a freshening breeze of hope.
What tidings?
A new teacher in the world, teaching what death is. Rumour, scant and dim, still held to this, that he could raise the dead.
O miracle! What blessed above all lands heard first his teaching, feels his footsteps now?
Not from our western wisdom this new light, from Rome or Hellas, nay, nor Egypt old, has risen upon the world. An ancient race, dark-browned, unvanquished, unvictorious, dwells south of Tyre. There, say they, is his home, and there I seek him. Will you go with me?
Master, my feet are as your feet, my heart as your heart. I will follow to the end.
End of Part 2.
This was Audiobook Caboodle YouTube channel presentation. We hope you enjoyed listening. For full audiobook, check out our playlist section. Links in description below.